Favourite film?
I still think Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Funniest thing about you that people should know?
I have double jointed elbows.
Do you dance?
All the time.
Right.
Yeah, I sing and dance all the
Yeah.
time.
No, he don't trust you so far.
Hi, welcome to the show. Chris Summers, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so good to share this Melbourne weather with you today.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so nice to catch up after
Yeah.
all these years and get a chance to sit and chill.
Yeah, so I saw the play in July this year.
Back in July, yeah.
So what's the next step for the play?
So we had the reading and it was read twice at the festival, and before then there'd been 2 weeks of development. The industry were all invited, as well as general public, as well as people doing the same teaching program as me. So there were a whole lot of audience members from representing different sectors.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is really figuring out whether there is sufficient interest from companies to put it on. And if not, then probably looking for an independent way to put it on. Again, similar to when we did Cross.
So how is that to write?
It's something that I've really realised is a strength of mine, because I've always struggled with, what is my style, what are my strengths, what is my voice. But I think something I can now objectively say that I think I can do well is find ways to say things without saying them. So for me, the goal is always a character, when there's dialogue or even in a monologue, instead of saying how they feel, it's always something else that they're doing or saying which is helping us understand their true feelings underneath the surface. So I suppose for me, in terms of my writing process and how I structure those things, I'm always interested in what's going on below the surface. What are they saying versus what are they really feeling at any given time?
Has there been a time when you've watched the performance of your piece and you've gone, no, I didn't want it that way, I hadn't envisaged that? How attached are you to that?
Look, not really. It's happened once or twice where some of the, when I have put stage directions, I put ridiculously unstageable things in there. So when the directors have tried to find a solution for them, they haven't met what I was imagining. And that's my fault. That's not a director's fault. That's me putting in a stage direction which is so metaphorical, so undoable on stage that they have to find, a more practical way of realising it.
Yeah.
But in terms of actors making choices and in terms of productions grappling with the words, I've never been dissatisfied. And the only times I've ever sort of felt like it was a letdown was when I saw the failings of my own writing. When I think that there was often a bit of criticism with Crossed about the second part. There were all the monologues and there were those things, the scenes that happened afterwards. And a lot of people told me you should cut it.
Really?
In the lead up, cut those in the lead up to the production. And I sort of thought, no, this is, and then watching it, I sort of thought, probably could have cut it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I think it could have ended on a real bang, and it could have really ended somewhere without needing all the stuff that happened afterwards. So I've never been unhappy with actors not getting it right, because there is no getting it right. But I think I've learnt a lot about economy and when to cut things and when to just let things be.
Wow. How long has it taken you to learn that?
A little while, yeah. But I think there's always that tension. Some people write really, really long first drafts where, characters are explaining their motivations and going through, it's chunks of dialogue, at a time, which I've never been interested in doing that. So I've always been quite good at cutting, but then it's making the right cuts, I think. It's easy to cut, I find, but it's making sure the right things are still there.
What's your process? Let's talk about.
Yeah. I think I've tried a few different things, and this might be interesting for people who are writers or people who want to structure scripts. There are 2 really different schools of thought about how to start writing. And I know some people love planning. Some people love writing all the character histories out, their family and all, their job and interesting things about them, and really getting to know their characters, and then writing out a bit of a map of a plan for what's going to happen to that character in the play. And some people feel like that's a really, really useful way to generate a lot of material quickly. And then you can write a first draft pretty much bang, because you've already done all this preparatory work.
Sure.
The other school of thought is if you do that, you end up slipping into cliche, or when you're trying to create all these backstories, no one has that creativity to be so original when they're doing all that. So when they come to write the first draft, it's just going to end up a bit of a cliched sort of So instead, you just write from your instincts. You just get a first draft and just see where it goes. And as you're writing, challenge yourself to shake things up a little bit.
So it's almost a journey for you as well as a
Absolutely,
writer.
yeah. And every time, Simon Stevens, who's an amazing playwright, who did The Curious Dog and Incident in Nighttime, and also just a lot of contemporary plays, who's amazing. He's talked about this a fair bit and said that he's done both, and after planning for so long, he's found that it's re-energized his process to go back to basics and to just to write from the heart and write from the instinct.
And so, yeah, how do you maintain your discipline and your routine then? What's your commitment to writing?
A lot of writers do, and I think Murakami writes about his morning walk. He gets up at 5 o'clock every morning and goes for a really long walk and then comes back and writes for about 5 hours solid.
Wow.
And I think that's a luxury that not many of us get the chance to do because we've got day jobs. For me, I wrote pedagogy during school holidays, so I'd had so much going on in my life and was feeling so many things and felt that instinctive urge to need to write, but I also needed to set aside a bit of time where I could do that quickly, and then continued refining that in the afternoons in the lead up to some submission dates. So school went back, and for a couple of hours a night I would just go back to it and try and do a little bit of work on it, finish it or refine it.
How have you been challenged internally by your own,
You mentioned before about some of the awards and also the fact I've had so many different careers. I think in the early 2010s, so probably about 5 years ago, when we were doing Crossed and when all that stuff was starting to happen, I was really quite sure that I wanted to be a professional playwright. And I think I had a bit of adrenaline, I had a bit of confidence. But the more I put things out, I saw that it's such a gain, getting that attention and getting the professional paid jobs to come in. And you're up against so many people who are equally talented, in many cases more talented, who have such interesting things to say, and getting plucked and put on a main stage theatre is luck. There's a lot of luck involved. So I think I went through, particularly with getting the awards and still not feeling like something happened, I went through a bit of a downward period with my writing where I stopped writing. So in 2012 I went to NIDA, and at the end of NIDA I sort of felt like I'm just gonna leave this for a little while. I wrote a play in 2013 and then wrote pedagogy in 2015, and apart from that I hadn't really done much writing for a good few years. A lot of that was the internal critic, the thing inside saying you're not good enough. You can keep writing this stuff and putting it out there, but no one's going to do anything with it. Oh wow, you can win an award, but still nothing's going to happen with it. So the way in which I ended up responding to that was, and this is my mantra now, and I think I'm going to hold on to it forever, is you write because you want to, and you write for the satisfaction and integrity of what you believe is your most authentic voice. So that's been the real way I've challenged that critic in my mind saying this isn't good enough, or you're never going to get put on or anything like that. It's doing it for my own satisfaction and doing it because I believe in it, and I can pay the bills some other way. It doesn't work completely, and it's still, you can still be confronted by the blank page. You can still get home after a day of work and be like, do I really have that fire in me to want to write right now?
Sure.
But it really helps. It really helps when you know that you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're not doing it to impress. You're doing it because you believe in it.
Absolutely. Are you comfortable sharing then what you were going through, what inspired the story of pedagogy?
Absolutely, yeah. So a little bit of background. I'm just about to finish this program called Teach for Australia, and the goal of the program is to take people who have degrees in non-teaching fields, and many of whom have industry experience as in other professions or as something else, to do a 6-week crash course in becoming a teacher, throw you into a school in either a regional, a remote or a disadvantaged area, and then you teach full-time while doing your Masters of Teaching. So it's really full on. It's really confronting work. It is one of the most thankless professions, and it is really, really difficult. Coming to terms with all of that, and also, particular students whose backgrounds challenged me emotionally, all of that fed into the play. So all of that sort of led me to realise not many people know about what this thing is that I'm going through. This is the play that I have to write right now.
Yeah. How has this changed you? How has teaching changed you?
Oh, that's a big question. I think it's made me become a lot more patient. It's made me become a lot more, I suppose, able to exist in the moment and not feel like I need to be in control of situations. So I think you learn very quickly as a teacher that if you're aiming for complete control over any given situation, you are not going to win.
Yeah.
But if you're able to stand back and sort of subtly agitate a situation and get students to do what you want them to do in a way that they don't necessarily realize that, and at the same time they're learning, that's really good teaching. So I think it's taught me a lot about influence and about people skills and sort of how to make a situation work for you.
It's not dissimilar to writing then, is it?
Yeah.
Because it's your work does influence people. You're trying to move them in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Although the flip side to that is when you're a playwright, you're in complete control when you're writing. So you are mapping out the play, and you have complete control over what everyone says and what's going on in the story and everything. I think teaching's made me a lot more comfortable with not being in control, with letting go of things as well. It's had to make me a lot more resilient too. Because
do you find it a challenge to not get consumed by your day job when you're burning with an idea?
I think it's a great question, and I think definitely. I think there have been times where I would love nothing more than to have a week off or a period of time off where I could just sit in bed, get up at 10 o'clock, have a coffee, and just write for a few good hours. But then you've got to balance these things, and I think I'm really happy to teach full time for the moment because I've still got the energy and I've got the drive. But I think in the future it might be a 3-day-a-week thing or even a 4-day-a-week thing to have a day or two where it's just writing time and just my time.
It has been such a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure everyone's gotten so much out of it. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here.
Lovely to see you. Thank you.